break every FCC rule in the book right now.
Abby Rumbach show.
Abby, you want to join me? No, the stories I've been reading are from my travel diary when I lived in Argentina 2 years ago. And so I've kind of revisited them this past few months. So that first one you heard was during my tango class sessions. And now I'm going to tell you about my first time at an Argentine football game. That's soccer for you uncultured folks. I came home from my first Argentine football game this morning at 6 o'clock. The game was yesterday at 6 p.m. I'm now covered in paint, mustard, probably foreign bodily fluids, and I smell like garbage. But I'm thrilled to be back alive. I tried to tell my survival story to my American roommate. She goes to the University of Alabama. Roll Tide? But she wouldn't have any of it. What do you mean there's nothing like it? You've obviously never been to a Bama game. No, Darby, don't understand, I pleaded. NCAA, NFL, what have you. They don't have anything on Argentine football, I said, brushing a matted chunk of hair out of my face. The game was a super clásico between two rival teams, Independiente and Racing. Racing is spelled like racing. The founder was a fan of American race cars. Racing on this day is my team, well, my friends / caretakers team. I followed a group of 3 zealous Racing fans donned in celestial blue to the Juan Domingo Perón Stadium. To give you an idea of the brutality, the masses of these fandoms, the stadium has 2 separate 5-mile routes from the city just for this game. One route for Racing fans, and the other for those terrible, good-for-nothing Independientes. These routes are on opposite ends of the city in an attempt to prevent any mingling or clashes between blue and red. Sounds kind of familiar in Kentucky. Keyword, attempts. We took a subway line on our route to the stadium. The car was like a Long John stuffed with cream filling. Only this was a flimsy metallic soup day car brimming with beer-fisted fans jacked up on testosterone and probably cocaine. The subway rocked violently in sync to the many Racing canciones, or team hymns, loaded with the foulest vocabulary for me to learn. Fans clanged onto walls, handrails, and anything metallic to inform the entire soup day network that a game was about to take place. From the soup day, we took a train, and then from the train, we had another 10 blocks to walk. And on that walk, a pickup truck whizzed by. The bed was crammed with red Independiente fans, and everyone in the street threw up their arms and knives, yelled, cussed, and flicked them off. It was so entertaining. Aside from the turbulent sea of blue people, it was apparent we were in Racing territory. Graffiti marked the boundary for its fanatics. The celestial flags whipped ferociously in the wind on every corner, and as we got closer to the stadium, I could hear the canciones I learned on the train, only this time in one collective voice of about 40,000 people booming ahead. I was walking toward the belly of a monster. It felt like that moment when you reach the top of a roller coaster knowing you're about to drop. It wasn't until this point, when a current of people was pushing me forward toward the stadium, that terror started to set in. Here I was, likely the only American in this entire neighborhood, without an emergency phone number, or without a phone for that matter. Should I have told the embassy? F no. The embassy would have said, do not go there. Do people die at these games? I asked Leo as I stepped over a puddle of red liquid. Could have been paint. He just smiled. We passed rows of police on horseback, police with crowd control shields, and police with many impressive weapons I had never seen before. At least they're prepared. I tried to calm myself. At the security checkpoint in front of the stadium, a woman police officer patted me down, more like affectionately groped. She opened my purse, and when she did, she quickly seized something out and gave me the most spiteful look I'd seen. In her hand was a small tube of chapstick. Apparently, it could be used as a weapon or thrown at football players. One of her well-armed colleagues stopped her from seizing my felonious chapstick and said, "Come on, she's just an American." Sure, I'll take that, fine. Walking into the stadium was unsettling. I looked up at the industrial light fixtures that were swaying under the balconies. The cement stadium was literally rocking from flag-waving, stomping, and jumping the multitude of enthusiasts. Chombi, one of the Racing Club fans I accompanied, stuck a flag into my hand and said, "Do you know how to wave a bandera? Do it." An hour before the game, the crowd sang, danced, and shredded newspapers to be thrown. I suppose this could be somewhat compared to tailgating, but they didn't have cars or beer. Alcohol isn't served in the stadium, and with good reason. The testosterone and adrenaline are so high, I can't imagine what it would be like with alcohol stirred in. However, I did catch a whiff of a few puffs of smoke. 20 minutes before the game, the stadium was one giant cloud. I couldn't see in front of my face, and everyone around me covered their eyes and mouth to breathe. I never saw or where or how these smoke bombs started, but for 20 minutes we stood in this dense cloud, cheering, blindly, and waiting for the game. When the fog cleared, the players somehow appeared on the field. The grass was covered with confetti, toilet paper, shredded newspaper, and probably chapstick. We waited another 20 minutes for a crew equipped with leaf blowers to clear the field. The tiny microscopic red section reserved for the Independiente fans looked pathetic in a sea of writhing blue. In any other circumstance, their cheers would have been quite oppressive. Here, their screams and drums were reduced to a whisper. I don't have so much to say about the game itself. I was more preoccupied with the people around me. Little boys, I'm talking knee-high little boys cussing with their dads, vendors balancing trays of Coke while trying not to fall down alarmingly vertical slopes of stairs, thousands of people reciting the same words in unison. It was so powerful and a little intoxicating. I thought, if only human beings could rally around a global crisis with the same vivacious fervor, the world's problems would be much smaller, if not non-existent. Whatever. Racing Club won 2-0, and the final goal ended with even louder cheers and displays of affection. Fans hugged everyone in their row. Some people leapt across the aisle to give strangers bone-crushing hugs. Ecstatic is an understatement. While I'm not an avid sports fan, I am the dueña de una pasión. The character Sandoval in the Argentine film Secretos de sus Ojos says a person can change their identity. They can change their look and their name, but they cannot change their passion. Racing Club taught me to pursue mine with great enthusiasm, even if that means losing my precious chapstick.